morning students, how are you all? I hope you all are safe at home. In the previous session, we have discussed about the harmful microorganisms. In that category, we have discussed, in the previous sessions, we have discussed priorly about the disease causing microorganisms and the food spoilage, how the food spoilage occurs due to microorganisms, and what causes the food to undergo spoilage. We know that food undergoes spoilage by different microorganisms. Okay, so different microorganisms we have learned in that category. What are they? Bacteria, yeast, mouse. And here, in case of bacteria, we have discussed how the bacteria will cause different types of food spoilage, and in case of mouse also, we have discussed how they are going to cause damage to the food. And third category, we are having that fungi, which they cause fermentation of foods and they will make that food unfit for consumption. But we have missed one point in that food spoilage. So in that we are having food poison. One concept is there, that is food poison. So this particular microorganisms, sometimes some of the microorganisms, they may produce some toxins. By producing some toxins, toxins are nothing but poisonous substances. If these toxins are released by certain microorganisms during the spoilage of food, the toxins, when we consume them along with the food, toxins are nothing but poisonous material. So when we consume that substance along with the food, we suffer from illness. That illness we can call it as food poisoning. So what is food poisoning? Because of the consumption of the food that contains toxins which are produced by the microorganisms during its spoilage. So such food, if it is consumed, may cause some type of illness in our body. That illness we can consider it as food poisoning. What is food poisoning? Food poisoning is a case where our body suffers from illness because of the consumption of the food that contains toxins. Okay, that we haven't discussed in the previous class. Okay, and next we are having the other concepts like preservation. In food preservation, we have discussed about heating, pasteurization, and cooling processes under physical type of preservation. So what is food preservation? Food preservation is a process where we either kill or prevent the growth of microorganisms to increase the shelf life of food material. That process we can call it as food preservation. What is food preservation? Food preservation is a process where we implement certain activities in order to make that food unfit for, that means make that food fit for consumption for a longer time, either by killing the microorganisms or either by inhibiting the growth of microorganisms in the food. So this process we can call it as food preservation. And in the meanwhile, we have discussed about, under the food preservation, we have discussed about that heating, pasteurization and the cooling. So under heating, we have discussed about ultra-heat temperature treatment, ultra-heat treatment. So in that case, we have discussed how much temperature we are using for preserving such materials like milk and water. So 135, we have to use more than 135 degrees Celsius. We treat that milk or water at this particular temperature or more than this temperature for a very short period, that is only 1 to 2 seconds, so that we can control the growth of microorganisms in the food. We can kill the microorganisms in the food. That food means nothing but the milk and the water which we are using them for sterilization. By using this process, we can sterilize those milk and water. And next we have discussed about the pasteurization. In pasteurization case, we can sterilize milk or wine using a temperature temperature, very low temperature, not much high temperature. So 70 degrees Celsius for about half an hour, so that we can kill the microorganisms and we can sterilize that milk or wine by using this pasteurization process. And next, cooling. So by using refrigerators, we can preserve a number of food materials by storing that food materials at a temperature of 80 degrees Celsius, minus 80 degrees Celsius or 5 degrees Celsius. So in the freezer we are having the temperature of that the refrigerator is having minus 80 degrees Celsius. Out of the freezer, inside the refrigerator, it is about 5 degrees Celsius. By using this cold temperature, we can preserve a number of food materials by inhibiting the growth of microorganisms. How can we control the growth of microorganisms and preserve food by using cooling? By inhibiting the growth of microorganisms. So this is all about the previous session. So what we have discussed. Now in this session, we will discuss about the chemical preservatives. Chemical preservatives that are used for food preservation. So what are the different chemical preservatives we use for the preservation? We use for the preservation of food materials. So today in this session we are discussing about chemical preservatives. Chemical preservatives. Under chemical preservatives, you are going to learn about different chemicals that are added to food material in order to preserve them for a longer time for consumption. Okay, we are having different chemical preservatives like the salt, sugar, oil and vinegar, and by adding certain materials we can canning process, do canning process. And we are having this canning and this particular other processes, they come under the physical methods, the other methods of physical dehydration or drying comes under physical methods. So under chemical preservatives, we are using salt, so sugar, oil and vinegar, and one more thing we are having, that is that sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite. Sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite. Okay, so these are the different things that we use, these different chemicals that are used in order to preserve materials. Okay, so sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite. Sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite, both are the chemicals that we use for the preservation of jams, jellies, and even squashes. What are squashes? The fruit juice syrup, we can call it as squash. So like lemon squash. Just how can we prepare this lemon squash? We just take out the juice of lemon and then we make it sugar syrup. And when this sugar syrup is in warm condition, we mix this lemon together with not very hot. The sugar syrup must be at a temperature that means it is not very hot. It should be at a moderate temperature, so that when we mix this sugar syrup with this lemon juice, we will get lemon squash. Okay, this is the preparation of squashes. Not only lemon, we can use other fruit juices for making squashes. So like we can say the sweet lime, we can make squash with the sweet lime also, and other types of even grapefruit. Grapefruit means nothing but other types of lemon. Different fruit juices we can make them into a syrup form, strawberry, like that. So that syrups we can call them squashes. So the fruit juice syrup we can call it as squash. Fruit juice mix it up with the syrup, sugar syrup. It is nothing but squash. So it is having a little bit jams, jellies and squashes. So here the sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite are the chemicals which are added to these jams, jellies and squashes in order to preserve them for a longer time. And next, coming to the next one, the salt. So generally where do we use this salt? For making pickles. During the preparation of pickles, we add salt to the pickle to preserve the pickle for a longer time. So for the preservation of pickles we use salt. And next one, we can also add this salt to meat to preserve that meat for longer time. And we can also add this salt to we can say fish, but most probably fish. So we can add it to the fish, and even for the chips also. So like potato chips, banana chips we are having. So for those chips also, for taste as well as for increasing the shelf life of that food material, we can add salt. So what are the materials to which we are adding salt to preserve them for longer period? For pickles, meat, fish and chips. Okay. This is about salting and the process of adding salt to that food material for preserving them for longer time. We can call that process as salting. Okay. Next comes sugar. So sometimes we will add sugar to different food materials to preserve them for longer time. So sugar is added for jams, jellies and even squashes. And even for some fruit juices, we add the sugar in order to preserve them for a longer time. Okay. So this salt and sugar, they will control the microorganisms, especially the bacteria, by a process called osmosis. They can prevent the growth of bacteria. They control the growth of bacteria especially by a process called osmosis. Due to osmosis, this bacteria may undergo osmotic shock, and the cell of this bacteria may lost its water from its cell body and it will shrink. So because of that osmosis process, the bacteria may die. So okay, because of salting and adding sugar to different food materials, we can control the growth of bacteria, which can be prevented by a process of osmosis. This is all about the salt and sugar, how they are added to, what is the use of this salt and sugar for controlling the microorganisms. Coming to the next one, the canning and dehydration, they may not come under this particular chemical preservatives, and we are having another chemical preservative, that is oil and vinegar. These are oil and vinegar. Both of these are added to some food materials to protect them, to preserve them from microorganisms. That means not get spoiled due to the growth of microorganisms. So oil and vinegar are also added to certain food materials, like we can say vegetables, fruits, meat, fish, etc. So to certain types of food materials, we add oil and vinegar in order to preserve them. Even also we can write pickles. In case of pickles also we will add oil. So oil and vinegar, both of them are used for preserving certain food materials like vegetables, fruits, meat, pickles, fish, etc. So this is this oil and vinegar, they mostly make an environment. They will make an environment that is not suitable for the growth of microorganisms in such a way that means this oil and vinegar are not suitable for the growth of microorganisms. If you add this oil and vinegar to the food materials like vegetables, meat, fruits, pickles and fish, what happens to the food material? The food material is devoid of this microorganisms. That means this oil and vinegar, they will make that food material devoid of microorganisms by controlling the growth of microorganisms, by making the environment unfavorable for them to grow. Okay, this is all about the chemical preservatives. What are the chemical preservatives we are using here? Sodium benzoate, sodium metabisulfite, salt, sugar, oil and vinegar. Okay, so sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite are used for preserving the food materials like jams, jellies and squashes, and in Generally, in olden days, what our mother or our grandmothers they used to do, they simply put these food materials in the sunlight. Like we can say chilies, cereals, pulses, and different food materials they are kept in the sunlight. So as sunlight falls onto this food, whatever the water content present in the food will be evaporated. So that dehydrated, it will be removed due to the sun's heat. So what is dehydration? Removal of water from the food material or any substance, we can call it as dehydration, or simply we can call it as drying. So by using sunlight, in the presence of sunlight, we can preserve certain foods for making them fit for longer time for consumption. So we make that food to fit for consumption for a longer time. We allow that food to undergo dehydration or drying. So during dehydration or drying, what happens? As the water is removed from the food material, when it is kept under sunlight, so what happens? Microorganisms may not grow in that food material because microorganisms require some amount of moisture or water for their growth. Because of that reason, the food materials which are subjected to dehydration or drying may not be spoiled easily. That means the growth of the microorganisms may not happen in these food materials that are subjected to dehydration or drying. Okay, this is about dehydration or drying. And coming to the next one, canning. So what is canning? Canning is a process which was introduced by the person Nicholas Appert. The person named Nicholas Appert. He introduced this concept of canning. Simply, canning is a process where foods are preserved under vacuum. That means, under vacuum means under closed tight container. In a closed tight container where the airtight container we are going to preserve the food material after sterilization. That means the food is sterilized or food is subjected to either physical methods of sterilization or by using some chemical preservatives. We can first sterilize the food material. So after that, you have to introduce the food material into this cans, into a airtight containers, nothing but cans. Okay, airtight containers, nothing but the cans. So then this food which is preserved under, that means we can say the food which is preserved under this can, inside the cans without having any air inside the cans. So what happens to that food material? The food material can have the ability to stay for a longer time. So that means the food stays for a longer time without any spoilage, because the cans may not have any air. They are having vacuum conditions. So because of that, the cans can, inside the cans, the food can be preserved for a longer time. So that's why most of the people, most of these days, we are using this canning process for preservation of a number of food materials. So like we can say, we can preserve meat, we can preserve fish, we can preserve fruit juices, we can preserve a number of sweets like rasgulla, West Bengal variety, like a number of food materials can be preserved by using this canning process. So what we understood about canning process? Canning is a process where we preserve the food after sterilization of the food. We preserve the food inside the airtight containers. This process is nothing but canning. In canning process, the foods can be preserved under vacuum conditions. As vacuum conditions are available, that vacuum condition may not allow the growth of microorganisms. So this is all about the canning process. So we have discussed about various methods of food preservation. So what are the food preservation methods we have used? We have learned about two different methods of food preservation. What are they? Physical methods and chemical methods. Under physical methods, we have discussed about what are the things we have discussed? What terminologies we have discussed? What are the terminologies we have discussed under physical methods? Heating, pasteurization, cooling. Next one, canning, dehydration or drying. Okay, these are the different methods that are used for preservation. These are the different physical methods that are used for food preservation. Coming to the next one, chemical preservation. Under this we have discussed about sodium benzoate. By adding sodium benzoate, sodium metabisulfite, sodium